let me cut across to Rajdeep Sardesai, who joins us live from Mumbai. Rajdeep, you're right there at the epicenter, your town. That's where all the action is happening, where the India bloc will be meeting for the third time. And this time, they're hoping to pull off some really key decisions when it comes to coordination committee for smooth sailing of all the alliance partners, a logo more importantly, and a convener. We believe that all parties are on board for the Congress to select a convener from their party. Is that right?
Well, Nabila, this India Alliance meeting in Mumbai is supposed to, in a way, set the platform for coordination as a kind of a final step before the party goes into the winter elections and then into the general elections. But on day one here, it appears that the India Alliance meeting in some way has been shadowed or overshadowed by the Adani question. Rahul Gandhi, we are told, will do a press conference now at 4:15 where he's likely to focus on the Adani question. So day one of the India Alliance, before even the allies meet, is about the Adani question and the big Adani story that's breaking. With me, Supriya Shrinate, the head of the Congress's social media cell, one of its main spokespersons. Supriya Shrinate, is this about the alliance meeting in Mumbai, or is the Adani question and the revelations that have come out in the Guardian and the Financial Times now going to hijack the India Alliance agenda?
I think this is an India meeting, but the reality of the day also is that the Adani mega scam, and there are fresh revelations in there. And the fresh revelations have proven that 13% of the 25% public float was actually held by Gautam Adani, his brother, and his proxies, which is in complete violation of the law of the land. And it actually triggers a delisting. So how do you expect us to keep quiet on this? I think the India Alliance meeting is extremely important, but so is this mega scam. And we are the ones who are consistently asking questions of the government that has chosen to keep quiet. Today, the role of the DRI and the SEBI are in the dock, and I think questions need to be answered on that. The SEBI chief, under whose regime the entire mega scam happened and no action was taken, is today the non-executive chairman of NDTV, a company owned and operated by Adani Group.
But the fact is that this SEBI chairperson was also an appointee of a Congress government. He was very close to the former president, the late Pranab Mukherjee. The point is, this meeting, no, just a minute. This meeting is supposed to be presumably about getting the alliance closer together. I spoke to an alliance leader, asked them about the Adani story. They said, we don't want to focus on that today. Today our focus is how do we come together, build for the election campaign. Is the Congress, with Rahul Gandhi set to address a press conference saying, look, while we want to be part of the India Alliance, our priority at the moment is to raise questions about the Adani issue.
But Rajdeep, I think we are a bunch of extremely competent people who can multitask. And one of the things that we will be doing is stitching together the alliance, is going to be ironing out the issues that need to be sorted out, the important things that are on agenda as far as India Alliance is concerned. But the other part also is that we cannot look the other way when a scam to this tune, under the political patronage of none other than the Prime Minister himself, is rocking India. I mean, look at what the world is saying about our institutions. Look at how stock markets were manipulated. Look at how stocks were held by proxies. How do you expect us to keep quiet? Yes, it is a lot about the India Alliance, but we don't look the other way. I think the two can coexist. I think the two can be done together. We are a bunch of competent people who can multitask.
No, what I'm asking, are all the alliance partners on board on the Adani issue? Or is the Adani issue primarily an issue which Rahul Gandhi and the Congress intends to raise, and even a section of the Congress, because you've got Mr. Adani's investments in Congress-ruled states like Chhattisgarh, like Rajasthan. I'm just trying to understand, will this issue therefore become a Congress campaign, or will this be an India campaign when you speak of cronyism?
Look at the number of people who have spoken on the Adani issue. Large sections of the India allies have spoken on this. And how can anybody not speak on the fact that there are gross findings of what has happened in the Adani scam? The questions about 20,000 crore kiske are today being answered. This is actually money that was round-tripped from India. I mean, there are firms that were set up in Dubai and in Mauritius way back in 2009. SEBI was informed about this. SEBI was allegedly probing into this in 2014. The DRI probe was on. As soon as Mr. Modi becomes Prime Minister, a probe is shut in 2015. Another probe is shut in 2017. What are the conclusions one has drawn? So I don't think this is an either-or situation. I think financial irregularities to the tune where corporate India is being maligned should be raised, and I think there's no issue with that. As far as one point that you said, is everybody on board? We are on board, and we are going to raise it as was. Of course the Congress. No, I think the Congress party. What do you mean Rahul Gandhi? We are all the same. I think the Congress party has consistently raised issues. We've released booklets of 100 questions. We've got answers on not one of them. 2 hours, 40 minutes is how long the Prime Minister spoke in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Not a word on Adani. Today the world wants to know what was the regulatory regime doing? Why did the government look the other way? Who ordered the shutdown of cases without proper conclusions being drawn? I think these are questions that the country deserves answers to.
So what happens to the other issues that were expected to be unveiled at this meeting?
They will happen.
The so-called 5-point agenda that might come in, what your manifesto is likely to be, 11-member coordination committee, is that all on track? Or do you believe in some way what's happened in the last few hours has shadowed that?
But what makes you think that we can't do both? And both will be done at the end of this India meeting. You will have an agenda, you will have all the issues that you've spoken about, you will perhaps have a logo as well, and I'm not at liberty to unveil too much, but you will have all those issues. Why should those two issues be straight-jacketed? Those two issues can coexist. This is a big revolution that has rocked the boat as far as Indian regulatory system, as far as the corporates are concerned, and it also rocks Mr. Modi's pretty ship. You are presiding over the biggest corporate scam, the con that the world is calling, and you can't look the other way. And when India comes together, when our allies come together, one of the points that we are raising is how 1 or 2 corporates have benefited at the cost of the large MSMEs, at the cost of large India. And I think this is an issue that very much gels with the India agenda.
Okay, may I ask you one last time? The fact is that Mr. Adani has investments in many of the states of the allies. In Bengal, he has investments. He has investments in Rajasthan, where you have a Congress government. He has investments in Chhattisgarh, where you have a Congress government. He's investing in he's invested in Kerala, where you have a left government. I want to understand, therefore, how are you going to separate the fact that what you call is the biggest con, but the man at the center of this so-called biggest con is someone you're doing business with?
I think it's time Indian media begins to understand what we are talking about. We are not against corporates. We don't think profit is a bad word. We don't think corporate India are all scamsters. What we are essentially saying is that if there is fair bidding that's happening, of course Mr. Adani has every right to be there, and if he does get qualified, he should win contracts like he has won even in Congress rule states. What we are against is if the finance ministry, if the Niti Aayog is putting in writing certain norms that should not be violated for Adani, rules then cannot be changed overnight. If there is a SEBI violation that has happened, Adani needs to be probed. If there is a DRI violation that has happened, Adani needs to be probed. Cases can't be shut down. SEBI tells the Supreme Court something else, the Finance Ministry is telling the Parliament something else. How does this coexist? Do you not think they're trying to cover and put a lid on the Adani scam? I think they are.
You know, that's the question now, in a way, Nabila. Is there a cover-up in the Adani issue? And that is going to become now a central focus, we believe, of what the Congress in particular intends to do. They've got these revelations on the eve of the India Alliance meet. Rahul Gandhi is likely to say, I told you so. I've been saying this for the longest time. Who's listening? So you will suddenly see the Adani issue in a way, at least on day one, taking center stage. Are all allies on board? I'm not so sure. Few of the allies I spoke to want to focus on the nitty-gritty of alliance building. But the Congress is very clear. They believe the Prime Minister has to answer the questions that have been raised by the latest revelations on the Adani issue. It can no longer be swept under the carpet. These are international magazines, newspapers now reporting it, highly credible. Therefore, serious questions are being raised by the Congress over the Adani issue.
Well, it's of course the Congress now choosing to open up this India bloc meetings agenda with the Adani issue, and that's the press conference that Rahul Gandhi is going to be holding at 5 p.m. today. Rajdeep, they're speaking to the spokesperson of the Congress to understand really what's the roadmap, and it appears that Adani seems to be first on their agenda in terms of an attack against the BJP.